Hello and welcome to back on Mechwarrior Online. So, there hasn't been that much coverage from me for this game of late, but more will be coming soon. This video, however, has nothing to do with me playing on the screen. Like, I'm not talking you through what is going on the screen, because as you can tell, there is something wrong with it, right? So, there's been a lot of bugs. Like, after every patch, there still comes a bunch of bugs which have to be squished for the game to be workable again. Crashes, missing UI, that sort of things. So, I hate winning matches where I know the enemy team is suffering from a bug. Or multiple guys disconnect, or something like that, when I know that I have an advantage which should not be there. Like, I don't care how I win the match, whether I cap the enemy base at the end, if that is how it turns out, then I'm gonna use that to win the match. But when the enemies have two guys who suddenly disconnect randomly, and a third guy who has like a freaking cannot see his UI, cannot play to the best of his ability, then obviously that's not going to count for anything, that match, in my honest opinion. It should not, simply because there is a straight disparity right there. So, I don't wanna put out a lot of buggy games and whatnot, but I thought that I would upload this video with some buggy footage on the background. So, let's talk some about balancing, shall we? And first and foremost, let's mention that this game is not the tabletop version. Any illusions that you people still might have that everything has to be canon and by the tabletop rules just do not function in this game as they should, simply because of the fact that this is not a turn-based strategy game like the freaking tabletop game is. So consider the fact that everything must come with gameplay first and lore second. Like, if it lore-wise does not fit, then it might be fitting for gameplay-wise to work this way. Because who wants to play a game where, you know, everything is imbalanced but based by lore? I don't think anyone wants to play a PvP game where only one gun or two different guns are overpowered, and that's all everyone uses, even though there are multiple guns out there. Okay, so that out of the way, let's talk about the first big thing which people talk about every week, the ECM, right? So, ECM to me serves a nice function. There is nothing wrong with ECM itself. It's how it interacts with other things in the game. Long-range missiles and streak missiles specifically suffer the most from the ECM. Because if you just consider ECM, you have a single mech with an ECM and you huddle the 7 other guys on the team around that ECM, suddenly you neutralize long-range missiles entirely. And streak missiles to an extent. Well, yeah, you can talk about tag and narc and counter ECM and all that stuff. I'll come to that in a second. Long-range missiles, well, can be dump-fired and so forth. It's still like it comes to the point where the ECM, you cannot lock on to targets to get proper long-range missile hits onto them. Same with streak missiles. That's basic functioning of the ECM, obviously. Now let's quickly talk about tag. Tag has some issues. For one, a long-range missile bolt wants to hang back, right? So they buff tag to be 750 meter range. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. But also tag requires direct line of sight, and that means you are going to be in the direct line of sight of all those gauss rifles, pulse lasers, you know, PPCs, all that stuff, to fire your long-range missiles. Long-range missiles have a flight time. PPCs and gauss rifle shots have barely any flight time if you compare them to the long-range missile flight time. Also, there is no AMS to shoot down your PPC bolts, but there is an AMS to shoot down long-range missiles. So that to me did not make any sense when they then lowered the damage on the LRMs and streaks even further. For what reason? Because there is already a counter to that in both an ECM and the AMS. Did not compute with me, but I digress on that point. So now, quickly about the tag itself. Tag has big issues because friendlies of the target who's been tagged can see that the target has been tagged. Now if I sneak a commando, spider, centurion, whatever, behind the enemy lines and tag someone, they are going to see that, oh, our friend is getting hit by a tag. And since there are no enemies in front of us or whatever on the ridge line on Frozen City or something like that, suddenly I have 7-8 guys turning to try to find me. Because I am the only guy with the tag right behind their lines, and they realize that. It takes a person with brains and some situational awareness about 3 seconds to figure out, oh, okay, we are being tagged and something is wrong here. Because without a tag, if everyone is huddling around the, ECM bubble, in the ECM bubble, you cannot target them individually to allow you to provide targets for your long-range missiles. You have to have the tag. If I walk into them and turn on counter mode on my own ECM, then they obviously realize, oh, our ECM suddenly gone. There is someone with the counter ECM right in middle of us. Let's find it and kill it. Right? And I am alone outside while the rest of the 7 of my team, and once they kill me, it's the 7 versus 8 again. Right. So please don't tell me that tag or this stuff actually counters ECM. It does not. Not actually in an effective manner, especially with the travel time of long-range missiles. And here comes the kick in the teeth. How about you stack ECMs? You bring a lance with 3 mechs with ECMs, because when you go counter ECM mode, you can only counter 1 of the ECMs. So you stack triple ECM on top of each other, and you suddenly require 3 mechs with counter ECM to negate all 3 of the ECMs. Right? So that is a little bit wonky, me says. Yeah, I still think as a fix, counter ECM, when you go counter mode, it should counter all the ECMs in that area. That's what I personally think, because right now, when you do duels between light mechs, for example, one light mech dueling another in a circle strafe scenario and usual stuff, run around all over the place, the both mechs have streaks, but the mech with ECM cannot be hit with streaks by the other one who does not have ECM. If both have ECM, this is not an issue. You can play mind games with the whole counter disrupt, like swapping between the 2 of them to break enemy lock and allow yourself to lock, and so all that stuff. That's fine. But if your enemy has ECM and streaks, he can hit you with streaks while you cannot hit him with your streaks. This is, to me, a little silly idea. You have to bring a tag if you are bringing streaks and cannot have, all sorts of other things, as in if you cannot bring an ECM of your own. For this reason, I personally propose a couple changes to ECM, which would help out a little. For one, I would like AMS to be changed so that it's less effective when you are under ECM bubble. This is a very minor change, but it would help tag, Nork, other things like this. Because it would make it so that when you tag someone and someone actually fires long-range missiles to it, even if it's inside the ECM bubble, you still won't have 8 guys there with an AMS shooting down all the missiles. That would be a very minor change, but it could probably help. Also, I still think having an ECM on your own mech, you should not be able to fire long-range missiles or streaks unless you go counter mode. Like it would disrupt your own ability to lock in with to get lock on with long range missiles and streaks as long as you are in the disrupt mode. So you are bringing the ECM bubble for others, but you cannot do it yourself without, you know, going into counter mode. This would allow allow it so that you cannot fire streaks to enemy mechs unless you essentially turn off your actual ECM bubble for the until you get the lock on, right? That would help. And tag and narc icons should not be visible to the friendlies of the target who has been tagged and narked, or narked, I should say, because that is just silly, right? Also, yeah. Counter ECM, I still think it should counter every ECM in the area. Not just one, but every single one of them. What's the point otherwise, right? You just stack ECMs on top of each other. Alright, so let's talk about quickly talk about strikes. Both artillery and airstrikes have been brought in now to serve the same function long-range missiles should be, you know, serving, right? In a time where without ECM, or if both teams don't have ECM, one team has long-range missile boat, people would have to be aware of their, like, where they stand in regards to cover, because you would have to, like, hug cover and all that stuff to avoid long-range missiles, right? That would mean that you are not jumping out into the open and shooting at the incoming enemies while they try to rain missiles on you and close in on your location. You would have to put your head into the ground, you know? That sort of stuff. You would be in cover. So it could be used for that sort of things. Right now, artillery and airstrike provide this purpose which the long-range missiles used to provide, and in my opinion, they should still provide. Because artillery and airstrikes basically cause a team to split apart. You land it, you hit the red smoke somewhere, the team notices it, and everyone splits all over the place, and suddenly you don't have everyone underneath the ECM bubble anymore, unless it's a really nice drop where everyone, you know, goes together, in which case they will all just walk together into the same direction and still be under the ECM bubble and still be, you know, untargetable for LRMs. Long-range missiles. So long-range missiles have been, like, left on the sideways, unless you have a match where neither side has an ECM, but those are getting really, really rare. And also there was this tip of using the, like, strikes to kill a light mech, for example, capping your base. Actually, tell me what maps you can really do this on. Because if you think of a frozen city or forest colony, you don't actually have line of sight to your base, to actually either base from, like, midway around midway of the map to land said artillery or airstrike on the base which is being capped. On Alpine you can probably do this by being on, like, on one of the big hills. You can probably see both of the bases and land it where you want. On Tourmaline there are so many high grounds with jump jets you can maybe get to see the bases, but on things like as Frozen City as an example, being able to use the artillery or airstrike like that probably not gonna work out so well for you. So yeah, I personally didn't see the real big point of bringing both artillery and airstrikes into the game at this time. I would have wanted to see fixes to the other things, like, because they serve the purpose long-range missiles, to me, should serve, which is as a long-range freaking barrage to like either force enemies to dig in deeper or change location, in which case both of them like as a function of disruption. Long-range missiles do that really well, if we don't discount ECM. Also, quickly talking about this, I should put this on quotation marks, I guess, this meta people are talking about. metagame for the like direct fire stuff. I mean, the direct fire builds have been on this game in Battletech for decades, my people. It's like they have been around for a long time. Anyways, what brought this like whole sudden influx of PPCs and ghost rifles about, like in mass amounts, is the fact that there is an ECM and you can no longer land LRMs in a, you know, good manner. It's just not always possible to bring an LRM bout and then hope that the enemy does not have ECM, right? And gamers by nature are efficient, if nothing else, so people will find what works, right? Not necessarily what's broken or overpowered, but what works most of the time. And that's what people will use. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. There is some content coming on like in the near future. All that stuff. I'm gonna put out some more Mechwarrior videos. I just don't wanna put out so many buggy videos and such. And thank you very much for watching once again.
Base 90% captured.